you've had a chance now, I think, to look at this story. Tell us, from your experience in China, and for that matter in the United States Senate, have we seen similar instances of hardware hacks? This is not a software hack, but rather hardware, implanting chips in computers, either from China or from other countries.
This is the first hardware that I'm aware of, but it's not the first time that China has tried to infiltrate the United States, not only the United States government, but steal technology from United States companies. It's an alarming trend, and it's got to be addressed. We did address it several years ago, and we finally got the Chinese attention. They sent some people back to put together a cybersecurity agreement. It was a good start. Wasn't great. It was a good start, and we have to just keep putting pressure on China to get more agreements like that.
So we're mindful of the Section 301 proceeding going on right now that President Trump initiated. The USTR has come out with a report that deals with cybersecurity, although, and reading through it, it's largely a data issue rather than a hardware issue. Is that one of the more effective ways to deal with this problem, through the sanctions that are available under Section 301?
Well, 301 sanctions will help, but I think it's not really a trade issue. It's more of a security issue, which means that we have to sanction China and under different statutes, as we did with the breach not too many years ago by Office of OPR. The government office.
Yeah, so you, of course, spent 36 years in the United States Senate. Do we need new legislation on this subject, or is there legislation that is extant right now that is sufficient for the executive branch to act?
There's sufficient power. The executive branch has sufficient power. The real question is just finding the evidence and showing to the Chinese that they're violating the law. We've done this. In fact, I remember I've read some transcript of one company, ZTE. It's clear they're intentionally violating the law. They're intentionally trying to hide it. They're caught red-handed, and we sanctioned them.
So you've said before, Mr. Ambassador, that actually we may be starting a new form of Cold War, an economic Cold War with China. If so, this seems to be one further step in that. It reminds us in some ways of what went on with the Soviet Union all those years ago.
It's very concerning. China, the Communist Party in China is consolidating control. It wants complete power in China. It's consolidating control over in Asia. It wants to be the power center of Asia. The United States, of course, basically leads the Western world. We're unfortunately moving into two different camps, and if we don't be careful, it's going to be a chasm, a gulf. It's going to be very difficult to bridge.
So, from your knowledge of the Chinese government, which is extensive, what would be effective action that the United States could take that would actually deter them, that would actually get their attention and say, okay, we're not going to do that anymore?
Our sanctions against ZTE got their attention. They got their attention because their technology is behind ours. When we sanctioned ZTE, that meant it was difficult for that company ZTE to progress, and that's their Achilles heel. Finding ways that Chinese technology companies are to be sanctioned, that gets their attention.
Senator, what about CFIUS? Is that a good deterrent as well?
CFIUS is a good deterrent. It's been tightened up considerably. The Congress tightened it up. It works pretty well. But the alarming problem here is it's getting worse and worse. That is, each side distrusts the other even more. And, after a while, that's going to cause significant problems, not just in trade and not just in commerce, but also politically. We're going to want China to help us perhaps more with North Korea or with Iran, for example. And with this widening gulf, that makes it much more difficult to get Chinese cooperation in North Korea.
Will this also lead to more support from the Congress, from both the Democrats and the Republicans, for that matter, for President Trump's approach? We know that Vice President Pence is about to give, in about 4 hours' time, a speech in which he's going to say that China is actually trying to interfere with the midterm elections even.
To be honest, I smell a little bit of politics in that. I wonder if Vice President's trying to trump things up a little bit, no pun intended there, to pump up the base. Now, I don't see much evidence at all of China's interference, nothing like the Russian interference in the election. Frankly, I don't know the reason for China's interference in U.S. elections. It's just not something I think China would do. Surely China's got spying on us, but I don't think they're trying to interfere in the midterms.